So this is the thanks I get for working overtime.
Welcome to Summer Showcase Overtime. I'm Michael Washington. As always, I got Zach Bronkhorst with me. Let's start, obviously, with the news just off the top. Obviously, Zach, we heard over the last couple of days that you were let go by Milan. They are bringing in Eitan Salem?
Easton, yeah,
Eaton?
Easton.
Okay. To play quarterback for the remainder of the year. First and foremost, thank you for coming back. I like doing the show with you, so I'm glad that you're going to be sticking around for that. And how are you doing with everything?
Yeah,
so far?
I'm doing good. You know, as we discussed a bunch of stuff going on off screen, so I'm not going to disclose much information. Just you know, I'm taking care of myself now, and I'm gonna be selfish with kind of what is going on around me. But yeah, I mean, I'm gonna land on my feet. So I'm excited to see what the future holds for me. And yeah, I wish Easton the best of luck. He was involved with the organization while I was there. So I'd love to see him go out there and ball. They got a tough schedule ahead. So I mean, it's going to be tough going, but yeah, definitely wish them the best. There are just some indifferences that occurred between me and the organization there at the end, and yeah, I'm happy with where I'm sitting right now.
Yeah, for sure. Well, I'm glad that you're here. Obviously, Sam says thank yous as well, and Jamal is excited to see you, our unofficial producer for the Summer Showcase ELF series, because he loves giving us statistics and tidbits that, little nuggets that
Yeah,
that I
absolutely.
wouldn't know for the most part by any means. So it's nice to see those two here with us as well. So, but you have our full support here in your corner, Bronk, and good luck to you with whatever it is that whenever you do get land on your feet, my man, for sure. So,
Yeah,
all right, let's start
absolutely.
off with everybody's favorite segment. The news segment. What do you got for me today, Zach?
Yeah, absolutely. So I'm going to start off with your Panthers. First off, the quarterback carousel continues for the Panthers. It just seems like a season of, going around and round in circles. I mean, Matthew Vitale has left the team, I believe, on personal issues, family matters back home. And they have also released Atavis Amorium. He's a tackle. So released those two. They activated Matt Cole off of the IR, and then they signed Lucas Xavier, who was an offensive line for them last year. I believe he played for their Polish team, the Roll Call Panthers Polish version. So he's been there. So they signed him to replace the tackle that they're losing. Interesting though is that they don't have an active quarterback for this week. So I guess we're either going to see one of the American receivers take snaps at Q. Won't be surprised if we see that, or if we see a Polish quarterback come in and sling the rock around a little bit. They got the Fahevar and Throners. They really put it on them last time they faced them. So I mean, I wouldn't be surprised if they put the ball in the hands of a Polish quarterback and thought that they'd be good. So that'll be very interesting. This is your team, though, of course. I'd love to hear your thoughts on just the season that's been going on over there.
Well, first and foremost, Jamal, the segment will still be around. There is injuries that take place. Emergency quarterbacks have been signed, so et cetera, on that front. So we will definitely still have news to present. It might just be look a little different from a signing standpoint. That's all. For the Panthers, this season the wheels have completely fallen off this wagon. Like, let's just talk about it from the start. Like, the quick release of Steven Duncan that I still feel like was done in a very hasty move. The firing of Dave Christensen, which I disagreed with. 2 seasons, 2 straight games now where the last 2 games, I should say, that they've scored 17 total points. One of those was against a Prague team, and probably the worst game of the season, at least from a visual standpoint. Trying to watch that game was brutal. And then, they go out and put up a nugget against Stuttgart last week when they were with Steven Duncan, literally lost by I think it was a touchdown or a 1-score game, or it was a 1-score game and then ended up being 10 points, I think. So yeah, this is crazy to me, man. And not rolling with a quarterback this week against the Enthroners. Either they really, really are overlooking this Enthroners team that's coming off 2 straight wins, and they think that they can just go in there and beat up on them without having a quarterback, or at least an import quarterback. Or they're at a point where they are just, like we're not going to make the playoffs, so we're just going to throw in the towel and just give people a chance to come in and play. I don't know what it is, but I know that their fans are not going to be happy with the outcome
Mhm.
if they're overlooking the Enthroners, because I think this
Yeah.
team is a completely different team than what they were when they played before. So
Yeah.
yeah, it I don't know, man. The season just came unglued for them, and I think that I think they need to stop being so hasty in their decision making. That's
Mhm.
what I have to say about that one.
Yeah, and then to add on top of the coaching carousel, letting go of Coach Landa today, their offensive coordinator, promoting the offensive line coach to offensive coordinator. So I mean, yeah, just a carousel going on around there. They still got they have 4 games left. They got the Enthroners, they got Berlin, Frankfurt, and then ending with Prague. So realistically, they should, not guaranteed because no game is guaranteed, but they should for sure have 2 wins. And then maybe pull one out against a tough like Frankfurt team that is not what they were in the past, or a Berlin team that they beat week 1. I mean, granted, Jacob Sullivan is and the whole offense for Berlin is cooking a lot better than they probably were week 1. Plus their defense playing a little bit better, but they still beat them already once this year. So I mean, they could probably pull that one out again. But without a quarterback or just the whole situation that's going on over there, it's kind of tough to see a clear path to the end of the season for them. The Enthroners have been making a lot of moves. They've been recruiting like crazy, getting tons of players over there. So it's going to be interesting. It's going to be interesting. And I agree with you, Jamal. Week 1 probably was the high point for the entire Roll Call season.
Yeah, well, I think it was also their highest point total too for the opening week and as well. So
Yeah.
I do want to just give a shout out real quick to Matthew Vitelli. I hope everything's good back home, and go take care of yours. Obviously, family over everything. So I don't really fault Vitelli in this situation. If he needed to be home, so by all means, that I understand as far as him leaving the team is concerned. So hopefully everything's good, and we can see Matty Ice back in uniform somewhere in the near future as well. So I just wanted to mention that real quick as well.
Yeah, gotcha. We'll move on next to Jamal's team, the Helvetic Mercenaries. Carlton Aiken last week took a nasty hit to his knee. Looked like it hyperextended pretty well. What I'm hearing from that camp, though, is that he is going to be on the IR. They're not listing him out for the season yet. But yeah, that looked like a real nasty injury. If there was no significant ligament damage, then God is looking over him, because that looked pretty nasty from what I saw. But they are bringing in DeAndre Clayton. I believe he was last playing in the Polish league earlier this year. So getting a quarterback in, he's an athletic quarterback. I didn't see much of his throwing. I just saw him kind of running around making plays whenever I was trying to find him on social media. So athletic quarterback, somebody that maybe has a similar game to Carlton, and the fact that they do make a lot of plays with their legs, and then can also have a great deep ball. But yeah, prayers up for Carlton. I really hope that the knee's good, and that he's able to come back off the IR before the season's finished. It really looked like that offense was kind of starting to take off a little bit at the end of the year after the Vienna showing, and then even without him, they still put up 18 points against Munich.
Yeah.
And their
20.
receiver that was playing quarterback had over 100 yards and a touchdown throwing. So
Yeah.
yeah, I mean, interesting to see all the moves that Helvetic's making, and I know they signed one of the top Polish receivers this week, if not the best not Polish, Swiss receiver. Sorry, I still had a roll claw on the mind. One of the top Swiss receivers this past week, and then they have been in talks with Terrion Robinson, who was in the LFA earlier this year, and then also played for, I believe, Istanbul and Cologne, I think, in the ELF. Yeah, so very solid American receiver. So I don't know if that means anything's going on with Anthony Brown. I really hope not, because he's a very electric player, top 5 in the league in receiving yards. So yeah, I hope that nothing's going on with AB, but I heard that might be in the works for them.
Yeah. So I talked to Justin Kellum pretty often. He covers a lot of the international leagues and stuff, and he talked to Carlton, and it sounded like Carlton was worried it was his ACL. I don't know if that was the actual case because he did come back in and play in that game. He threw a touchdown to put them up at 23. So, but everything that I've been hearing is it's not the ACL and that he should be back, hopefully, at some point in the season. So, hopefully for Aiken, it's nothing more than just him, thinking it might be something, and it didn't end up being that in that case, by all means. So, shout out to Carlton, and hopefully he's okay by all means. I really don't know much about DeAndre Clayton. I really don't. I got to look him up. I didn't get a chance to do it earlier today. I'm hoping to get a chance tomorrow. But if he's athletic, that's great for Helvetic to be able to hopefully be able to move that pocket a little bit and maybe make this offense a little bit easier for him to get the ball out, and he doesn't have to get sacked as often as Aiken had been this year, because Aiken's been sacked a lot. Sam made a post in here that Aiken made a post about sack yardage should be subtracted from passing yards, and I don't think it should be. I think it's ridiculous that it is, personally. I know that the NCAA does it based on running, but I think that's ridiculous too, because
I don't know why sack yards count against us at all. Like, why are our yards being taken away because somebody else didn't do their job?
Yeah,
that's just my point of view. That's just my point of view as a quarterback.
Yeah, I don't think they should be subtracted either from passing yards or rushing yards. To be honest with you, I think it's I think it should be its own separate category because it's a separate play. I mean, you have pancake blocks don't count towards yardage. I mean, I know that seems ridiculous to say, but you know what I mean.
As somebody who got sacked 12 times over the last 2 games, that affected my stat line quite a bit as well, Carlton. So that was tough.
Completely agree with Carlton that it shouldn't count by any means. So.
Moving on to the Bravos. The Bravos made quite a few moves today. One significant one. Jalen Embry, one of the best, if not the best, defensive backs in the league, had to be placed on IR today. Undisclosed injury. I'm not sure what's going on. Maybe you have some insight on that one. But they did bring in my boy, Marquise Manning. I love that for my boy. I love seeing him back in the league, and I love seeing him on a contender. That's a great situation over there for the Bravos. It's going to be a night and day difference than what he's experienced in Europe so far. So I'm really happy for the guy. He deserves another chance in the league. He's one of the best, cover corners, going against Reese Horn twice last year, who's obviously one of the top receivers in the league. He did great things against Reese. I'm excited to see that matchup this weekend between the Centurions and the Bravos, because the new American receiver for the Centurions has been kind of going off recently. He's got 6 touchdowns in 4 games, and they've got Cologne looking like some playoff contenders somehow, some way. Who saw that coming at the beginning of the year? My Lord. But I'm excited to see Marquise going up against them. They're both actually, all 3 of us, me, Marquise, and that receiver for Cologne, we're all represented by the same agent group. So I've got a dog in both fights. So rooting for both those guys. Shout out the Gridiron Crew. Shout out the guys that work over there. They do a great job of getting us signed and all over the world. I've got a dog in that fight. I want to see both of them succeed. I don't know who to put. I know Marquise on a personal level, so I guess I'll probably root for him a little bit more. It's going to be an interesting matchup, and excited for my guy. Very excited for him.
Yeah, I'm excited to see Manning back in too. By all, for everything, and I feel like he's heading into a situation, like you said, it's a really good situation in Madrid, and it just adds to this defense that pretty much has been the staple for what Madrid has been for the pretty much all season, right? They're basically been known for their defense with some really good offensive explosion plays. I will say that with Madrid, it's going to be interesting to see if this defense can carry them. And I feel like, even with Embry, and no, I've not heard anything about what's going on with this injury. I didn't see him get hurt in the game, but there is a possibility he got hurt on the play and just walked off to the sideline. Not really sure. I'll have to look and see if I can find anything, but I haven't heard any grumblings about what the injury possibly could be. And I think the Manning signing, as good as Embry has played, I don't really think that they have lost a step with Manning. As long as Manning is able to come in there and catch on to their their lingo, their verbiage, which doesn't change too much, I would assume from defense to defense, then their scheme and whatnot, I think it should be a pretty good plug and play for Madrid by all means, for what Manning can do. So I'm excited to see him back in the field, and it'll be interesting to see what happens this weekend because they do have a tougher game than we all expected with Cologne this week.
Yeah.
I had some thoughts about that last night, so for sure.
Yeah, shout out Isaiah Weed. My God, the weed is good over there in Cologne. It's cooking.
It is
It's cooking right now. He's playing really good ball though. Not turning the ball over, using his legs to extend plays. Not doing too much. Their run game is working really well. Yeah, that's going to be actually more of an exciting matchup than a lot of people thought. But staying on the Cologne topic, they did lose one of their better running backs to a season-ending injury. Gerald Amalm, I believe. He's a German running back for them. Had about 750 yards, I think 4 or 5 touchdowns on the year. So I think he was the number 2 running back for them. Got a lot of carries. Did a lot of good things for him. Obviously, when you're getting in the end zone, you're going to be doing good things in this league. So tough loss for them, especially with how good that running game's been.
Yeah, Jamal also mentioned last night that they might be without their second running back too. That they're both of them possibly could be out this weekend in that game against Madrid. So,
Hate
um,
that.
in order for Cologne to have a chance, I think one of them is going to need to play for sure, and hopefully they're 100%. But
Yeah.
that's brutal one way or the other to lose somebody that's producing at that level. Going into a game against Madrid, like you said, Cologne's starting to look like they're kind of making a push here, and
Yeah.
this game could be tilted one way or the other depending on how they were able to do what they're able to do. So
Yeah.
we'll get into the predictions on that front here in a little bit, but
Yeah, for sure. One last note, I saw the Vienna had released DB Ken Hike, but I did not see him get picked up by anybody before the signing deadline, which was today at, I believe, noon. So maybe he's on somebody's emergency list or something, but I really hate to see that for such a great player and defensive back such as Ken. Man, I kind of thought Vienna was going to keep him around and we could see the duo of Xavier and Ken on both sides of the ball locking stuff down when they're making this championship run. So that one kind of surprised me. Maybe they just didn't see what they wanted to see from him. I'm not really sure. But yeah, interesting to see if Ken's season is done over here in the ELF or if, maybe something was worked out behind the scenes.
yeah, it surprised me because I was with you on that, which I was kind of thinking that when Edwards came back that there was a chance that we might see him and Hike together, and
Yeah.
with the way Hike is played and how good he is, it's really surprising that he didn't get latched on somewhere, at
Yeah.
least to be able to finish the year, because he also strikes me as a guy who just wants to play, and wants to go out there and show that he can play and be as high level as he possibly can be, no matter what the circumstances are going on around him, by all means. So,
Yeah.
hopefully it's not the last we've seen of Ken in any uniform. Hopefully he decides he wants to continue his career, and we see more of him down the road for sure.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, he's a special player. I mean, he's on special teams, returning kicks for touchdowns. I mean, it would have been cool to see him and Xavier back there. Who are they going to kick to, Xavier or Ken? I mean, they're both dynamic playmakers in the special teams game and lockdown defenders. So I really think that they had something there. It surprised me, but I mean, the Vikings are a great organization. Maybe they know something that we don't. But yeah, that kind of wraps up the news for this week. I saw Sam give a shout out to the Gridiron Crew. I know y'all cover the LFA, so maybe we'll be seeing an LFA team full of Gridiron Crew guys this year.
Hey,
There might be something in the works.
Well, I mean,
I'm not going to give too much away, but there's a lot of great players signed to our agency. Maybe a team, kind of gave us, I don't know. We'll see. Just a shout out to LFA though.
Well, I mean, I'll say this from this standpoint. if you end up in the LFA next year, you can more than welcome to come join us on Spring Showcase to talk
Yeah.
LFA. I'm hoping to get Aaron Ellis on if he returns to the LFA next year as well. So we have Daniel, who's awesome, but you guys are more than welcome to come on and talk LFA football because I love it either way.
Yeah.
So I want to keep you
Yeah.
involved somehow, Zach, one way or the other.
We'll see. Yeah, we'll kind of see how that plays out. There's a long time till next February, so
It is. It's a long time.
Yeah. That concludes all the news that I got. Do you have anything that you wanted to
Yeah,
point out or something you saw?
Yeah, no, honestly, I haven't seen anything. It's just the I feel like the Panthers and the Dragons seasons, obviously heading into the preseason, just the derailment of what's gone on with these two franchises, unfortunately, at least for this year in 2024, is I hope it's not the new norm for a lot of these franchises moving forward, and keep my fingers crossed that we start seeing some of these guys. But I also want to give a shout out to I want to say Vierfar, the Enthroners, because the last 2 weeks, this team has turned it around. They have steadily improved all year, right? Like that's what we want to see from teams. I know there was a lot of talk about them possibly going back to the Hungarian Football League and stuff. I'll be honest, seeing the improvements that I've been seeing this year, I really hope that they are financially stable enough to return to the league because I think it's actually good for the ELF. And I think it'll be good for the Enthroners in the long run if they're able to find a way to stick around. I mentioned it last night. Randy mentioned it last night as well. But I just wanted to make sure that I was saying it again today because I got to give a shout out to them for not just throwing in the towel, which could have been the easy thing to do, and actually trying to improve. And it's really worked the last 2 weeks. You can see that they're playing hard, again. So.
Yeah, for sure. Shout out to the Enthroners for just, I mean, who would have thought that at the beginning of the year we're putting the Dragons and the Panthers in the same conversation for possibly the craziest situations going on in the league? I mean, we see news about who the Dragons might be bringing in this week, and then it's completely not happening. You just can't trust any of the news that you hear coming out of there because you don't actually know what's going on. So I really hope that any American import type players that are getting contacted for the Dragons, make sure that they do their research and know what they're going into beforehand. Because I mean, I hope for the Dragons fans and their franchise that, I mean, somebody comes in and really picks that franchise up from pretty much the bottom of the bottoms right now, and just helps them, get back to the level that, ELF fans are used to them seeing in 21 and 22 and competing for conference championships and in the playoffs.
Yeah, and that's one of the biggest things that I hope. I mean, kudos to the Dragons ownership that's there now and management for finding a way to try to finish out the season. But that is the very basic minimum that they're going to get credit for from me because they have done enough to screw this franchise over and hopefully keep the fingers crossed that they can find somebody or a way to find some more stability because the Barcelona Dragons as a name, as a franchise, and as a fan base deserves better than what this management team has given them. By all means, especially here in 2024, because like you said, let's face it, 2 years ago they were 5-0 and on their way into like a playoff, caliber team, a championship caliber team. I know Madrid came in and kind of took a lot of the national players, but that's no excuse for what we've been seeing and what we've been hearing coming out of Barcelona by all means. So,
there's so much going on with them. The whole Alex Pasito situation that I see just trending everywhere. I'm not informed enough on that, and I don't know the rules well enough to know what that whole situation is. But I just feel like that if there's a breach of contract, a player should be allowed to go play for anybody they want. A breach of contract on the franchise's part should allow the player to instantly be an unrestricted free agent.
Yeah,
that's the nature of it. That's what I think as a player. So
I fully agree with you. Even not as a player, I'm 100% on the player sides. Across the board in every league, and maybe Jamal can help us out if he's still with us. As far as like what's the difference, because this was the first time that I've heard the difference between a local player and a homegrown player.
Yeah, I've never heard those terms before.
Yeah, I had never heard that. I did not know that that was a thing. Jamal's a little more in tune with the rule set and stuff, so maybe he can help us out in the comments down there. He just typed in and said free Alex, so he's still with us. So maybe he can give us something that we can share. But I don't really know. This was the first time I've ever heard that. I did not know that that was even a thing. So it surprised me when I was reading about it too. So
yeah, that's crazy. The whole thing is crazy. But yeah, I mean, I really hope that the ELF. I mean, I know the players committee, based off of what I read, it was notified of the situation, the new players committee, and they brought it to the ELF own commissioner and the board, and nothing came out of it. So I really wish that the ELF would finally just step in and be that governing body that's needed for this league, because I know each franchise is privately owned and they don't have really any monetary involvement with any franchise, but at the same time it's a professional league and you should be the supreme overseer. So you're the judge and jury. Just make if something like this is going on, just make it right. You have that power. But I don't know. That's just my opinion. I don't want to be too controversial.
No, you're 100% correct. I completely agree with you. And Jamal said he said it was the first time he's heard the difference between homegrown and local as well. So, so clearly it threw everybody off as far as the first time of them hearing any of this by any means. So, well, that's going to do it for the front half of the show. We're going to take a quick break. When we come back from the other side of the break, we are going to do our predictions and previews for the upcoming games. It is not a pretty slate for the most part. There are a couple really intriguing games, but it is not a pretty slate this week. Yeah. Here's a couple words from Current.
This is Current. It's the card my parents used to pay me for mowing the lawn, running errands, and doing well in school. Oh, wow. This is the card I used when we got the idea to make our own clothes. And we spread the word, drove downtown, and sold everything we made. This is the card I use to do the things that really matter. This is Current. Visit current.com and download the app for free today.
Oh, welcome back. Make sure you use Current. It's a great product. And make sure you're using our code as well while you're there, and have a good product in your pocket to use. I just want to say something real quick. So in NBA news real quick, I don't know if you've been following this or not, but they struck the 11-year deal with Amazon, ESPN, and NBC today. They rejected the Warner Brothers offer. Apparently that is also including the WNBA on that deal as well. So I think that's actually fantastic for the WNBA. I just want to give a quick shout out to them. So congratulations to both the NBA and WNBA on that deal as well. I don't know how much basketball you follow or not, but I mean, I follow all sports around here. So I just wanted to give that. It just broke across my my phone. So
yeah, I follow the Mavs and the Sixers. So that's the extent of which I follow.
I mean, the Mavs had a good year, but last few years, it's basically like being a Washington fan across most sports. So that's pretty brutal for you.
Yeah.
All right. Well, let's get started on the slate of games. There's 8 games, I believe, if I'm counting correction. And let's start off with the one that I don't think anybody would. What is this? Week 9?
10.
Week 10. I don't think anybody, if we had looked at the schedule preseason at week 10 and saw the Enthroners and Panthers on the slate, that we would be thinking about how I think this conversation may go. What's your take? The Enthroners are traveling into Warsaw to take on the Panthers.
Yeah, I mean, I'm just interested to see what the Panthers roll out on the field. I don't think anybody is really sure. Are we going to see a full game of Wildcat? Are we going to see a national or a homegrown player? I don't know, homegrown or local, who knows anymore. But a homegrown player take the reins at quarterback of the Panthers, in which a lot of people had them in the playoffs at the beginning of the year. That's just crazy. I don't think anybody really knows what they're going to see. The Enthroners, though, steadily improving, as you pointed out. They've gotten better throughout the year. They're putting up good fights. They're winning games now. While the Panthers are kind of on the downhill, it seems like the Enthroners may be on the uphill now. They have a great pass rush. They have one of the best European cornerbacks. I mean, if they can get pressure on whoever's playing quarterback for the Panthers, then it might be a game in which we see come down to the end of the wire. I never thought I would predict this game to be close at the beginning of the year, but here we are in Week 10, a whole different precedent around this game. I'm going to pick the upset. I think Mangle and Roby are really hitting it off. That offense is starting to click. The defense is playing good. I think the Enthroners are going to pull off the upset. I got the Enthroners winning 28-21.
28-21 Enthroners. So I can tell you right now, Zach, that I don't believe this is an upset prediction anymore.
Let me get the upset. Let me ask the upset.
You are the fifth of us to select the Enthroners.
Wow.
Last night, Randy, Bryce, me, and Jamal all picked the Enthroners in this game.
You're turning against your squad. It's mutiny.
I can tell you as a Washington fan, I've turned against plenty of my squads for a long time. I'm a realist as a fan. Like I have to look at it from a landscape. You know, there's no import on quarterbacks here. We don't even know if they're going to roll out Josiah Norwood at quarterback, which seems to be a rumor that they might do. I don't know how much experience Norwood has playing quarterback, if he has any at all. And Matt Cole and Norwood sounds like a beautiful 1-2 punch on the outside, but who do you have throwing on the ball? I don't know much about the Polish quarterback that's on roster. It's not a good blend. You know, they fired the head coach again. They're on their third head coach once again. I mean, all of it's been in-house, but they're on their third head coach. I know not much is going to change as far as the offense is concerned, but this offense has been dreadful the last 2 weeks under the old head coach. So, 17 points in against Prague, and that was, that was the only points that came. So, I picked the Enthroners to win this game 22-6.
Wow.
The Panthers' defense is really, really solid, but if that offense can't stay on the field, that secondary has been vulnerable. And Robitaille was 7 for like 107 last week or 111 last week. Toth had 2 touchdowns in that game, and Jack Mingle was just cooking. And I feel like that if that's going to be the case and this offense can't stay on the field, that Mangill and this Enthroners team is going to cook this defense, especially in the secondary.
Yeah. I think what's really opened up the field for the Enthroners has been their run game. Handing it off to the fullback on the fullback dive like 7 or 8 times was incredible to see from the sideline. Like, I haven't seen that type of football in a long time. Shout out Eastern New Mexico, who runs the triple option and Lone Star Conference. That's the last time I saw a fullback dive. So, I mean, just having a steady run game like that, and it just opens so much in the play action pass game, especially with like the receivers that they do. So I think that's really a point that might be underrated on them. Everybody sees the yards that Roby's putting up. Their homegrown receivers making plays, but I really think the run game and having a consistent and good run game for them has allowed the pass game to open up and not put as much pressure on Mangle and Roby to make elite plays every single time.
Yeah, the Panthers do have an out in this game. They do have 2 really good running backs that are there as well, and
some of the best.
Yeah, and if they can control that and actually gain yardage, but I'm worried about the one-dimensionality of this team, and the Enthroners defense has steadily improved over the last few weeks. So it doesn't bode well. It just seems like it's just a mix for disaster. And yes, Sam, you heard fullback dive, and what's interesting about the fullback dive that you mentioned is 2 years ago, when Stuttgart was absolutely terrible, they ran fullback dive probably like every third play. So Randy was talking to me about that last night, that was kind of like what the offense was that they ran. So you heard fullback dive. It's actually a lot that I've heard about it the last 2 days.
Don't remind Stuttgart fans where they came from. They came from very, very humble, low beginnings. Like, maybe they need to be reminded of that. They're sitting high horse right now, best team in the league, possibly. Remind them of that fullback dive every third play.
Well, you know what, though? Maybe Barcelona has something to look forward to, right?
Yeah, exactly.
Barcelona? Yeah. Speaking about games on paper that don't look really to be enthralling. The Prague Lions traveled to Vienna to take on the Vikings in this game. What's your thoughts on this one? You can keep it short if you want. Like, I think we're all thinking the same thing here.
Yeah, I mean, this one's going to be a blowout. Shout out Alex Malchow. The Ben VP is kind of steaming now. Even though he missed, I think, 3 or 4 games, he's now climbed his way up to top 5 in the league in passing. The keeping Reese Horn on the team seems to have been the smart decision for them. He's just balling out there at however old he is, 30-plus years old, I think, now.
Yeah.
Dude's a baller. The defense is playing really good. I mean, I'm not sure what happened. I think they just stumbled a little bit against Helvetic, maybe got a little lazy. But for the most part, the defense has been playing fantastic. So that was what was really surprising to see. Prague, golly, I don't know if they're getting that one win this year. I really don't. I thought that going into the year that they would get 2 or 3. I'm not seeing one now. Like, just with the Enthroners improving and Prague not improving at all, I just don't think they're getting that one. I'm predicting AC unit going crazy.
AC unit just went nuts over there.
Yeah. AC unit got angry at me for talking about Prague too long. Sorry. No, but I see this one. I don't think I don't think the Vikings are going to be rude about it and put up a 60 ball. But I got 55-3. I'm gonna give Prague 3. So 55-3 Vienna.
Wow, you almost stole my score. I picked 55-7 Vienna. Ooh. So yeah, I gave Prague like a touchdown. Maybe on a freak play where they just end up breaking one. Mm-hmm. I don't know. I mean, I primarily picked 7 because Bryce picked 3 and then Randy picked 6, and those would have been the two scores that I would have done. So I just went with 7. Mm-hmm. I said I think they hit the extra point. That was my big thing, the extra point. They're gonna hit it. They're gonna hit that. So if only that was a prop bet, right?
Yeah. Let's just move on to the next one, please.
Well, I mean, moving on to the next one's not much better. It's Stuttgart travels to Barcelona to take on the Dragons. So. I mean, yeah, there's not much better here. So
Stuttgart will be moving to what, 8-0 now, I think.
Yeah.
Are they 7-0 right now or 8-0 right now?
7-0, I believe. I think they've had their 2 buys already. So
Stuttgart moving on to 8-0. I mean, we saw their receiving core is back intact completely. Stewart with an insane 98-yard punt return. Riley Hennessy making an MVP case, one of the most efficient, if not most efficient, quarterbacks in the entire league. I mean, there's not much to say here. Barcelona is just trying to make it to the finish line right now. So, Stuttgart, they're probably going to – I bet they have the backup quarterback in by the end of the first half.
Yeah.
So that's my prediction. Backup quarterback in before halftime.
Do you have a score prediction, or are you just going to skip that part?
I'll go 50-3. I'm not going to go 0. I'm not going to be that bad.
Well, you're nicer than me. I went 62-0. I don't want to. I feel bad doing it. I really hope that Barcelona is going to be. Bryce picked them to score 21. I hope that's the case. Yeah, I hope that's the case.
Why? What was his reasoning behind that?
To be honest with you, I think it was more of a wishful thinking than it was anything else. You know what I mean? So, yeah, like it was. I think he full-fledged said that it's all wishful thinking, and he hopes it can. Get it. And Jamal had to make sure that he wanted to say that Bryce is drunk. So yeah, I think so too in that case. Yeah. Okay, here we go. Here's the first well, I don't want to say the first intriguing game because the Enthroners Panthers just got intriguing, but a surprisingly intriguing game. Suddenly, the Cologne Centaurans traveled to Madrid to take on the Bravos. I have become a fan of Isaiah Weed. Mm-hmm. He was a huge question mark for me going into the season. I didn't know much about him. He's won me over, and I'm a fan of him. Is there an upset brewing here?
I really think there is. But the thing is with the running back situation now being what it is, and me hearing now that their number 2 running back or both running backs are out. that's a huge part of their game. And like in the Frankfurt game, if you really watch that game, they dominated the line of scrimmage with the running game, and that's what really opened up a lot of things. And they've been really doing good on the running game, and their defense is playing really stand-up ball, getting a lot of turnovers. So I don't recall the name of their new defensive back, but the dude is absolutely balling. I know against Frankfurt he had a pick and a fumble recovery for a touchdown. He had another pick last week. He's locking everything down. Bravos, I mean, they look really good against the bad teams, and then the good teams, it's a dogfight. But I mean, it's like it's just I don't know. Like Paris, that was a down to the wire. But I mean, we saw Stephen Duncan turn the ball over at the end of the game. I mean, not really his fault. It's a strip sack from behind. That's a tough one, but I mean, it's tough because you want them to be contenders because they're a really good team, but then they face the Parises and the Rhine Fires, and we kind of see what happens. But I mean, I'm going to go with the Bravos here, but I wouldn't be surprised if Cologne pulls this one out. I just think the running game question marks and how big of a factor that is in their offense kind of scares me away from predicting the upset in this one. I would love for Cologne to pull this one out, but I think my boy Marquise is going to have a great game. I think their offense is going to dominate the line of scrimmage. And I got the Bravos pulling this one out 31-28.
You love stealing my scores. Are you sure you're not watching from the night before?
I promise. This is not. I'm not. This is top of the dome.
And so basically, you everything in your preview is basically what I think everybody has said so far about this game in their preview. Like they want to predict the upset. They're kind of rooting for it, but they're just not there yet because they're not sure what to expect. It's essentially the exact same thing that I did. The only thing that I questioned about this game is Stephen Duncan seems to have a very keen knack of turning the ball over late in close games, and I don't know if it's because it's mental or if it's just that's just who he is as a player. It was Stuttgart late; they were down by 3. I don't know if it was just him trying to make too much of a play. The Vienna game, I think that game was close, and they had the fumble that ended up being a touchdown. Late in that game, that was the end of the game, or maybe those were flipped. I can't remember off the top of my head, but he turned the ball over both.
Taking safety whenever you were down.
Oh yeah, it was
up 1 or something like that.
That's what it was. Yeah. So I mean, it was very. It seems to be a lot of mistakes late for Stephen Duncan, and it happens against the teams that are considered at the top. I question if this game is going to be close. Does he make that same mistake? If that's the case, Cologne could easily pull this out. My score prediction was 31-27. So, like I said, I think you stole you're stealing my scores because I think Madrid pulls this out. It's just going to be very interesting to see if that is 27-24.
Yeah.
Does Stephen Duncan score that touchdown, or is it a turnover late to end that game? That's the curious part for me, and that's what I'm intrigued to watch the most. If Madrid is ahead for most of the game, I don't think it's a huge issue because I don't think he needs to feel like he needs to make a play. So that's kind of where I feel that it might be the difference for him in this situation. I will say, however, Paris's defense is they're top notch, but I think they laid the formula and the blueprint as to what you need to do against Stephen Duncan and this Madrid team. I just don't know if Cologne is talented enough on defense, even though they have a good defense. I don't know if they're talented enough on defense to duplicate that same success by all means. So, for sure, this was Cologne Big 12 and 22 personnel, both back out, could hurt. He's going Cologne by 11, and says that Cologne will compete. So Jamal was the only one that picked Cologne in the actual upset in this case. So, but all right, the game after that is Paris against Rhine. This is a very interesting one.
Yeah.
You have been riding the Paris train. Randy has been more of a critic. He's starting to come around a little bit. He still isn't 100% sure about the identity of this team. I made the point yesterday that maybe the identity of this team has been overlooked by all of us, and the identity is that defense. They have the top defense in the league. Maybe that's their identity. What's your thoughts on this one? Is there an upset brewing here?
Yeah, I mean, the thing with Ryan is that they look like the Ryan that is going to just run away with the championship. Just the way that they dominate the line of scrimmage. Glenn is averaging freaking 4 or 5 touchdowns a game right now. Like, if they're capable of doing that against Paris, then they are. I will jump on the Ryan Fire bandwagon and predict them as the champions because Paris, like you said, #1 defense in the league right now. So I'm interested to see how they're able to contain a rusher like Glenn. If this is any other year, Glenn is the clear-cut MVP, and I really think he deserves the MVP. There's just so many good quarterbacks that are playing at a high level this year. So it's going to be tough for him, but he's playing at an MVP caliber level. And if Ryan pulls this one out, goes completely, lossless, or I guess win every single game for the rest of the year, I think that we see a Glenn MVP. So I am jumping ship onto that MVP train. I've been strong on the Zach Edwards MVP train. I'm hopping off that one. Nothing against Zach, but Glenn is just doing insane things. Something that hasn't been seen since the Madre London, I think, of 2021 or 22, where he won MVP as a running back. Glenn is doing pretty much the same thing against better opponents. So extremely impressive there. I do think Paris has a way of pulling this upset off, and it's good defense, stopping that rushing game of Ryan, controlling the ball on offense, not going 3 and out, controlling the time of possession. That is going to be huge because Ryan loves dominating the time of possession. That's their thing. They dominate the line of scrimmage and they dominate time of possession. If Paris can switch that over onto their side, then they have a clear path to victory. And lastly, protect the football. We saw in the first matchup, Zach Edwards forcing a ball into cover 2 man. For everybody that doesn't know cover 2 man, that means 2 high safeties, everybody else is manned up. We don't want to attack deep in the middle of the field because there's 2 high safeties whose job is to literally just stop anything deep. We want to attack the sidelines. We want to talk shallow in the middle of the field. And we saw Zach force 1 deep on first down in Ryan territory to end the game. We need to eliminate that if you're a Paris fan, and that's what the path to victory leads. Will they do it? Oh, man, I've been on the Paris train all year. I'm a fan. I love them. But I really think Ryan's playing at a championship caliber level right now. That's just what it is. I think Ryan's going to solidify that they're top dog in the league. I got the Fire pulling this one out 28-27.
1-point game. Okay. All right. I'm reminded of Ryan at the beginning of the year. Jadrian Clark, when he was rattled, it didn't look so good. Now, Glenn obviously is a different animal this year and has taken over the league and been on a whole other planet. Paris's defense, though, is not something to scoff at, and I think that is the difference maker here in this game. To be honest with you, I think if they can rattle Jadrian, I think they're good enough that they can slow Glenn Tunga down from not allowing Tunga to take over this game. Mm-hmm. I am picking Paris. I'm the only one, I believe, that took Paris in this game. I predicted Paris to win this game 26-21. Ryan is playing lights out right now. I just don't know. I'm just not 100% positive that they won't revert to what we saw at the beginning of the year if this defense comes out and smashes them in the mouth. And I think Paris can do it, and I think this is going to put Paris on the map as potential contenders, because a lot of people are talking about, the 5 away games and 5 out of the 6 games on the road, et cetera, et cetera. The first one, check. Beating Madrid was huge. Now, if they can beat Ryan, I don't think that there's anything that's going to stop them from possibly making a push and being a legitimate championship contender this year. So I'm actually echoing what you've been saying all year, and I think that this is going to be the game that they're going to make that statement. So yeah. I think they hand Ryan the second loss of the year.
Yeah, I mean, I'd love to see that as somebody who's been rooting for Paris since the very beginning. But like I said, I listed out the things that they have to do to win, and I mean, they just haven't shown those things consistently in the second half. they come out and smack teams in the mouth in the first half and look like world beaters, and then they go out in the second half and can't figure out how to protect the ball or put the ball in the end zone. And
that has happened, yes.
Yeah, they need to put together a full 4 quarters a game to beat Ryan, and I'm not sure if they know exactly how to do that, because that's something that a winning organization, players have to learn how to do, is finish games, especially close, hard-fought games like that, is coming out in the second quarter and finishing the job. So I think that's something that they need to learn how to do. They're obviously one of the most talented teams in the league, but that's just something that, as a new organization, maybe they haven't quite figured out yet. But yeah, I mean, I'd love to see it. I don't know. I'm just kind of sticking to the tried and true Ryan Fire.
Hey, I mean, that's fair too. And they got to learn sometime, and they got to do it at some point in time. And I think that's going to be this week. So I'll leave this one up to you. You're more than welcome to talk about this one if you want. But Milano is traveling to Munich. That is the next game on the slate. It's a rematch from week 2. You have refrained from talking about Milano since you've been with them, but now that you are a free agent, I'll leave it completely up to you. So any thoughts on this that you want to share, or just kind of...
I mean, Munich, like when you look at Munich's roster, it's just like, how is this team not a playoff contender? Like, technically they are, but they're on the outside looking in because of the Tyrol loss and the 2 Stuttgart losses and everything that's going on in the Western Conference. Like, you just look at the roster, though, and the numbers that they put up. And, yes, maybe it's against weaker opponents, but still, we got Tommy Aweyu putting up receiving and rushing touchdowns and 150 yards on the ground. We got one of the better receivers in the league, and Malik Stanley, coming straight over from the LFA and putting up like 3 consecutive 100-plus yard games. It's like, how do you this league, like this roster that they put together? It's just so disappointing almost, because they should be a contender for a championship with who they have on the field, and it just does. It seems like they're on the outside looking in. I mean, I'm not going to speak bad on Milan. I mean, I have nothing positive to say, but yeah. I mean, I think this one will be handled by Munich pretty significantly from the beginning. I think Malik Stanley goes for about 100, 105. I think Chad gets 4 touchdowns through the air and 1 on the ground.
Yeah, I didn't think this was close. I think Jamal saying that they lose by 8 is the only person on the planet that I've seen so far.
Maybe they come out. Maybe they come out and surprise them.
It's very possible. I got Munich winning this game 52-6. This is going to be like another one of those situations where I think they're just going to take it personal from the last loss that they had. They ended up letting Helvetic come back last week. I think it was Helvetic last week and score 23 on them, 24 on them. So I think that they're going to want to try to shut that down, because they are in still position to be able to make the playoffs. And yeah. I think that they want to show people that the hype that was surrounding them is still legitimate and that they can still do this. It's just, their schedule's favorable, and that's about all they have right now. So I picked 52-6. I mean, I just don't know what to expect. Anytime you're changing quarterbacks this late, it's always tough for a team. So they did bring in a veteran, though. Maybe he surprises. I don't know. The O-line's still trash, or I don't want to say trash, but it's pretty bad. And, it was a Achilles tendon for your guys' offense for most of the year. And then, for a defensive-minded coach, I don't think that he can be really too happy with how the defense is played outside of the front, outside of Zach Blair, really. This defense kind of runs through Zach. So it's just that this defense is on the field. And I think Munich is just too much of a quick strike team that it's going to be not pretty. Helvetic travels to Innsbruck to take on the Raiders in this game. Very interesting game to watch. Carlton Aiken's out. DeAndre Clayton's coming in. Probably would have predicted this to be closer had Aiken not gotten hurt. But with Aiken getting hurt, I personally don't think this is going to be that close. What are your thoughts?
Yeah, I mean, I agree with you on that one. I really don't know what to expect from DeAndre Clayton, like when we see him on the field on Sunday. Tyrol, they're in playoff position right now. They got to protect that spot. There's a lot of teams contending for that spot that they're in right now. So I hope that Terrell comes out with a fire and really wants them to, push to finish the season strong and get in the playoffs, but I don't know what Terrell we're going to see on the field, because last time they played Helvetic, they came out slow and it was a 10-point game for a lot of the game until the fourth quarter when they finally pulled away. Had that been for a rain delay or whatever, I don't know, but it just last time we saw that happen, and it seems like the Helvetic offense is just continuing to improve. So maybe that leads me to think that they would have a better fight against them. I don't think that's going to be the case. I think Terrell is going to come out with some motivation to finish the year strong and get into the playoffs, finally breaking the Shelton curse, and getting in there and playing in the postseason. I got Terrell winning this one. I'm going to go 37-7.
Again, close to my score. Jamal for weeks now has been every week is saying Helvetic covers. So the first time that
they have been.
He said it last night too that Helvetic covers, but now he's apparently singing a different tune now that we've heard the Aiken news. It sounds like, but unfortunately for Helvetic, I think the injury just comes at a really bad time because Carlton Aiken has been playing so well, and Aiken, getting hurt. I quarterback change, all that stuff with Clayton. I don't really know what to expect. This Raiders defense is really solid. They're athletic. The offense is runs really well behind. What is his name? Oh, the running back there. Why can't I think of it? Oh, it's gonna kill me. I'm gonna hear it, and Joel's gonna put it in the chat, and I'm gonna be like, I'm an idiot. Anyways, yeah, behind their running back is because Perry has not put together 4 quarters though.
Yeah, you've been reading that one for weeks now.
Yeah, he has not put together 4 quarters yet, so maybe this is where he does it against Helvetic. I'm not sure. Bunyati, that's it. Bunyati. See, I'm an idiot. Bunyati for the Raiders T-roll. I got it 33-3. I think Helvetic gets 3 out of it. It's just, maybe it's a turnover or a mistake by the Raiders that keeps them in field goal range. I'm not sure. I don't really know what to expect. Maybe I'm underestimating Helvetic and Clayton, but I just don't know what to expect at this point with that team. So, another intriguing game featuring Hamburg this week. Frankfurt is taking on Hamburg in Hamburg. Both teams, had new quarterbacks and a bunch of other things happening with these teams. What are your thoughts with this one? It's McKay versus Fulford.
Yeah, I mean, Frankfurt in general has been just a very big disappointment this year. Once again, with a roster that looks as loaded as theirs does on paper, for them to not be in playoff contention and actually on some power rankings be listed as low as number 11 in the league, I think is what we're seeing at, is a very big disappointment. Hamburg just, I don't know, they've just been struggling. They just seem to be the same thing the whole year. Just turnovers coming at a bad time. Defense not really playing well. They're not really able to stop anything. But so this leads me to go with the Frankfurt choice here. I'd love to see Matthew McKay, solidify his spot over there in Frankfurt. I believe this is going to be his 3rd game over there now. So really want to see him solidify his spot for the rest of the season over there and show that he's the guy. So I am going to go with a Frankfurt victory. I really would like to see Frankfurt finish the season strong. I know it's not going to be the year that the fans over there wanted. They're not going to be making the playoffs. They're not going to be contending for a title like they want. But I do think that if they're able to keep this roster together and get some more pieces in there, that would maybe make it run better. Whether that be new offensive coordinator, maybe a better signal caller, something like that going into next season. I do think that finishing this year strong could give them some hope heading into 2025. So I'm going to go with a Frankfurt victory here. I do think it'll be a little bit closer because I don't know if the Frankfurt defense is able to really stop anything either. But I'm going to go 35-28 Frankfurt.
35-28, that's fair. I completely agree with you. I think these two teams have been mirroring each other all year as far as how they play games. Fulford and McKay are both kind of starting to settle into this offense. I think that we'll see some improvement or some better play across the board for both these quarterbacks this game. It's going to come down to just who has the better team, and I think that Frankfurt right now might be a little bit healthier than Hamburg overall. I put this game as close. I think it's 25-24 Frankfurt. These two teams, like anything that you say about Frankfurt, you can say about Hamburg right now. So it's very eerie how close these two teams are, and I just went ahead and predicted a score that I think is going to resemble how close they are. And essentially at the end of the day, that's where my head was at with it. It was one of the toughest games for me to pick and put a score together for sure.
Yeah.
So, all right. Well, hey, you know what, Zach? If you well, hold on a second. Jamal said, "Who would have thought that the history of these two teams, they are currently this bad?" I completely agree. Absolutely, 100%.
Two of the top teams at the start of the thing. Now we're sitting here with both of them in the bottom echelon.
Yeah, well, hopefully we'll hear some news about you here, Zach, here in the near future as far as where you land on your feet and getting the new uniform for all of us to be able to sit there and try to watch play and whatnot. So until then, though, man, I'm glad that you're sticking around with us here at Summer Showcase OT and week 10 already. Man, it's crazy.
Yeah. Crazy how fast the season's going. I'm excited to see how the postseason shapes up. That's for sure.
Yeah, for sure. And obviously we'll be here through OT. Through the postseason as well, because why would I do that to myself? So, Zach, you want to give a shout out to anybody or anything?
No, just a shout out everybody back home still watching. I mean, I just want everybody to know that I know I'm in good spirits. I'm at peace with what happened, and I'm thankful for the opportunity to be able to showcase my talent on a level like this. And I don't know, we'll see how things shape up in the future, but. Yeah, I'm excited to see what occurs.
Sounds good. That's awesome. I appreciate you again showing up. As for me, Summer Showcase Northern Lights is on tonight, 10:30 p.m. Eastern.
BC Lions, baby.
BC Lions, who for some reason are still number one in the power rankings, even though they don't belong there. No offense, Zach. That loss last week was kind of brutal for you guys. Hey, my Calgary Stampeders pulled it out, though, so I'm okay with it. I know.
I just want everybody to remember what I predicted at the beginning of this season for them. So
you did.
I predicted a BC Lions championship.
You did for sure, and that was very much the hype train there as well. And obviously, the Dynasty Academy will be on tomorrow. I think this time, actually, for sure. I'm not sure. My co-host had something come up last week. Fingers crossed, we have a show on 8:15 Eastern, p.m. Eastern. As well for there on the Shady Sports Network. Make sure you hit that like button. Make sure you hit the subscribe button. Hit the little dingy to the notifications whenever any of the shows that come on as we talk football and other sports as well on the Shady Sports Network that if you need to find a little niche, I'm sure we have it as well. He's Zach Bronkhorst. I'm Michael Washington. Until next week, have a good night.